Thank you everyone for joining us here this morning. Daniel Forte, Associate Manager of Access Controls for Control Product Systems Group. Excited here to show you the CAPXS unit, which is launching this week, the newest member of the family from the CAP product line at LiftMaster, all driven by the MyQ business platform, along with the MyQ community app to control the devices. This is, just the latest of their smart video intercoms. This is the Smart Video Intercom-S. Today we have Sherry Johnson, Senior Product Manager in the Access Control Department at LiftMaster, going to present to us and kind of go over the feature set and talk about the backbone of the product. Want to throw out the webinar is being recorded, so right now is the time to jump off if you are not comfortable with that. And last kind of housekeeping item is Q&A will open up at the end, but if you have questions throughout, feel free to put them in the chat and I'll be monitoring for that. So Sherry, kicking over to you.
All right, as Daniel said, we're going to be introducing our Smart Video Intercom-S, S as in small. So just as a little background, one of the things that we noticed is that when you look at technology in the access control space, when you look at the smaller buildings, the technology has been really focused on those larger multi-dwelling units, gated communities. They're very large intercoms, which are too large for those smaller properties. And then the property management software is typically very complex. And it could be expensive for those smaller buildings because it's really based on high capacity type projects. And when we looked at small multi-dwelling units, we realized in our research that they're actually the largest part of the market. So if you look at the total market for the United States, 81% of those multi-dwelling units actually are in the small MDU space, those 2 to 9 unit sweet spot. So it's a really large market, and there's really not a lot of products that service them with technology when it comes to access control. And then the other thing we discovered was that the ownership by this particular building type, these smaller MDUs, is really more individuals and much smaller companies. It's not those big partnership and corporations. We're talking, these are buildings that might be purchased by somebody like me and you as part of our retirement portfolio, a way to dabble in real estate. So it's a different type of owner and they have different needs. These property managers have unique challenges that you don't see in these big corporations. Again, they're these, they're owners, and they might be juggling the tasks of managing these small buildings along with their full-time jobs. So it's really kind of a part-time gig for them, but still takes up a lot of their time. And one of the things is they want to ensure their property is safe, but it's personal to them because they own it. And then they also want to make sure their tenants and any vendors have secure access to the property. That goes along with making sure their property is safe. And then it's a big hassle for them because this is their part-time gig for vetting tenants and moving tenants in and out, switching locks and that kind of stuff. So anything that makes their life easier, they're very open to. And then we did get some research that, a lot of residents now, when they're looking at what amenities they want in when they start renting a space, they're really starting to demand modern access control. And this really came to light during the pandemic when people were kind of locked at home and realized that it's a pain in the neck when you're ordering stuff in and getting deliveries. You have to go downstairs, take either it's staircases or it's elevators. So this is something that they've now realized is important to them. And when you look at millennials, which are the majority of the people now in a lot of these rental spaces, 3 and 5 want to live that have mobile access control. So they go in that extra step. So with our products, with our MyQ community web platform and mobile app, we're positioned to be able to offer something to them, but we didn't have the hardware that really made sense for these smaller MDUs. So that's where we came up with the Smart Video Intercom-S. It's purposefully designed for those smaller buildings and with support for those owners and if they are using management companies, those managers as well. So here's a little bit of information about the product itself. So the design of it is really small and compact. It only controls one door or a gate. So it's ideal for those smaller property needs. For those small walk-up type buildings, you can do a vestibule mode. So if you want to mount this outside and still be able to trigger the interior door, you can do that with vestibule mode through the MyQ community portal. It's smaller, but it does have a 5-inch high definition capacitive touch display. This is just a smaller version of what we already have in our CAPXM, CAPXLV products. So it's same technology, just in a smaller form factor. Camera is identical. So it's an integrated HD camera, night vision. You still can do the live streaming and recorded events with the high quality audio from our portal. And it is 135 degrees field of view, same camera as in our CAPXM and XLV product. And supports the same access control. This does have a weekend input. So if you do want to add a card reader, it would be an accessory, and it will support the majority of the cards and credentials. And then from a connectivity perspective, this product can do both Ethernet, wired Ethernet, as well as Wi-Fi. So the customer gets to choose. We do recommend that it is a dedicated Wi-Fi for this product. It needs 5 megabits per second in the up and down to the unit. And then from Ethernet, we also, it needs to be from the router by at least 300 feet. With the MyQ community web platform, you get that traceability and accountability. So same stuff that you're getting with our CAPXM and our CAPXLV today, just brought down into a smaller environment. And I don't know if you guys have noticed it, but we've made a lot of enhancements to our web portal lately. And this is really designed around not only making it easier for everybody to use, but also as we position the CAPXS with these property owners, something that's a little bit more intuitive for them as well. So if they're managing a property or maybe multiple properties, they still have all of the great features of the web community or the community portal, but it's a little bit easier to set up and use for everyone. And then with the MyQ community app, goes right along with the CAPXS product, and it gives that resident experience, that safe and secure way to manage their guest access with the MyQ community app. So from the product itself, visually, you're going to have your microphone is located right up in this corner here. Here's your camera. Can you guys see my little mouse swirling around in there?
Yep, we can see it.
Awesome. The product itself is a polycarbonate. It's rated to IP54 for weatherproof rating, and the impact rating on the actual display screen is an IK07. The camera itself, again, we mentioned it before, but it's got that 135-degree field of view. For the CAPXS, it can hold 1,000 locally stored video events. It's a little bit smaller than what our CAPXM and XLV can do. But again, this is positioned for lower traffic, smaller buildings. And if you look at the actual visual part of the display, you'll see it's very similar to what you are seeing in our CAPXM and CAPXLV with the picture-in-picture, the directory. So a similar user experience at the actual interface. I will point out something is that the built-in speaker is actually on the bottom of the unit. And I'm going to show you why that's important in a few minutes. So from a specifications, power and connectivity, there is a 120 volt 16 VDC power supply that is included with the CAPXS. It's not a separate accessory. It's included. And from connectivity, you can have the wired Ethernet, that's your Ethernet port here, or you can connect it via Wi-Fi. And there is all of the terminals are along this terminal block, and they're all little wire trap terminals. And there is one primary and an aux relay, a status. You can get a 1 weekend input. There is a request to exit input as well as a postal lock input. When we did research in this particular space for these small MDUs, we discovered about 50% of them have the need for a postal lock. So we created a way with an accessory kit to be able to integrate that postal lock, and it is also available on the terminal block as well. And there is a reset button. There's an image right here. You can see the reset button right here next to the power terminals. And then here's where you can see the speaker. This product has a chamfer to it from the side view. And the speaker is actually underneath and behind it. So this product is going to always be surface mounted, which leads us into our next slide. So from the product itself, you can see that you're going to get this bracket will be included with the CAPXS. So you mount the bracket, surface mount here, and then you snap the CAPXS into it, and then you use 2 small little Torx screws to secure it to the bracket. So that's the surface mount. If you recessed it or flush mounted it, you would lose the audio with the microphone or the speaker down there. So you would lose that. Now, I have seen some unique applications in our beta testing where they actually set it in a larger trimmed out area, but provided enough space around it to allow the audio. It was kind of unique. So if anybody's interested in that, I can show you some images of some ingenious ways some of our dealers that have installed our beta units out there. There is a pedestal mount option available. It will be a specialized bracket that will mount on a gooseneck. So basically, the bracket that comes with the CAPXS would be replaced with the accessory gooseneck bracket. That'll be available in August, and that will allow you to mount it properly to the gooseneck mounting holes. And there are some service kits and accessories. The CAPXS is an entire enclosed unit. You don't need to open this guy up to do any wiring or anything. So there is no service kits that are interior to the CAPXS. We have provided that mounting bracket that comes with it as a service kit, just in case if you've got it mounted and you've got to remove it to do some work on the building. And when you removed it, that mounting bracket might have been sealed with silicone and you need to replace it. You can get a new mounting bracket as an accessory or as a service kit. And then the power supply is also a service kit as well. So if for some reason a power supply gets damaged or lost, or you need to replace it, you can get a replacement service kit power supply block. And then from the accessory perspective, we do have a sun hood. That's this image here. Highly recommended if you're mounting this in direct sunlight, just because this is a display. You may need some sun protection for it so that you can see the screen better in the sun. Considered a small version of the, what is it, those video boxes, Red Box, they put that whole piece and you have to put your head underneath it. We didn't get kind of that crazy, but we did provide a sun hood that will be available at the end of this month. And then this is not a rain hood, by the way, this is a sun hood. And then we have 2 trim plates, kind of clean up the install. One is just for the CAPXS. And then, as I mentioned, we have one with an integrated postal lock. So integrated postal lock box. So you would get the postal lock from your USPS, and then there's pre-wiring in here. You just wire up the postal lock from the USPS, put this box on it. It's a nice, clean, aesthetic look for the CAPXS when you have that postal lock requirement.
All right, Sherry. So we got a few questions here in the chat. I've kind of saved them all up for you. But so first one is no cap cell as an accessory for this device. I don't know if you want to elaborate or go into that one there.
So we don't recommend cellular when you're using video, and purely because the cost of your monthly cellular will be fairly high. Now, that being said, CAPXS, again, is lower capacity, it might not be a problem. But if you're going to use a cap or a cellular type product with this device, I would just use the Wi-Fi hotspot on a cellular device in order to do it. So, but again, not recommended to do cellular with video.
Yeah, and then I think you hit it right. There's a chance that you can get away when you get into the real high cycle applications that like an XLV is intended for. You probably want to stay away from the cellular just due to the amount of data that the videos. It's not so much the calling, but the video clips, right? They're high definition, really quality videos, and they eat a lot of data. CAPXS, if you know it's a low traffic place, you can probably get away with it.
You could probably get away with this. The things that you'd want to think about are how many people are going to be active using the CAPXS during the day, because that's what triggers the video event. This isn't triggered by motion, so it's only triggered by interaction with the CAPXS. So kind of think about from that perspective. And then also, if you're a person that likes to live stream from the web community portal, I would not use video. So, because every time you're live streaming, you're using up your data on a cellular. So if that's not something that you're really interested in, then maybe you're fine. But if you're one of those people that likes to live stream and see what's going on, I would not use cellular. Agreed.
Yeah, no, so you answered that well to begin with. I just want to point it out. Next question was, how do we access the 1,000 locally stored videos? And I'll just answer that for you. Those videos are stored for like loss of connectivity. You're going to access your videos through the activity log on the cloud itself. So the 1,000 locally is, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sherry, is just if we lose connectivity, they're still going to record the access events. And then once you regain connectivity, they will then dump into the cloud.
Correct. That's 100% correct.
Okay. And then another question here was the locally stored events, only when someone, and you kind of already answered this, press a button or record any event. So essentially it's going to be, there's some action items, right, that happen that trigger recording.
Yeah. So if somebody walks up to the CAPXS and creates a phone call, that's going to record the event. If somebody goes up and I live there and I use my 4-digit PIN, that's going to record that event. If somebody goes and just starts messing with it, that's going to record an event. So all of those events, or if I, from my community app trigger to open, it's actually going to record that event to see who's actually coming through the door. So anything that's activating through the CAPXS will record that event. So if you don't have connectivity during that time, it will record those events, and then dump them back up into the cloud, like you said.
Okay. And then is there a rain kit for this? Because you mentioned that being, a sun hood, not a rain hood. I know it's IP65 or whatever.
It's IP54 rating, 54. So it really doesn't need one. Although we've had a lot of people with interest in using those standard shrouds you can buy for gooseneck pedestals. The one thing that I would say, if you're going to use a metal shroud, you can get those from a variety of companies that also provide pedestals. Make sure there's about 2 to 2.5 inches from the top of the CAPXS to the bottom of that shroud hood. Because you want to have a lot of air circulating around this. This is a completely enclosed device, so we want to keep a lot of air circulating. So don't mount it like flush up to the top of that shroud.
Got it. And we got quite a few questions here, so we'll just try and get through them quickly.
No problem.
And then move on. So, questions are good. Will it integrate with home automation such as Control4? And the answer is no, right? No.
No, right now it falls under the same partnerships that we have with our CAPXM and CAPXLV. From a Control4 perspective, I don't know where that is in partnership integration. I'd have to double check with the team.
Okay. And then does the Postal lock kit fit underneath with a typical setup and switch?
Yeah, it actually comes with a switch that's all wired up, and all you have to do is wire. Basically, when you get the Postal lock, you wire it up to the switch there. So there's some pre-wiring with the little switch on that kit. I actually owe Chris some information on that.
Nice.
So I do have a sample at my desk. I got the first sample at my desk. So I'll take some images of that and send it off to you guys so that you can share it with your team and your customers.
I got it. And then it looks like the next one was essentially that it looks like it's about the size of a cell phone, which is true,
Yep.
of a larger cell phone. And they're asking if there's going to be any trim kits to basically retrofit like an older, larger unit.
So right now we've designed these two kits. They're on the smaller side. I will say that we've had one dealer on the East Coast that did a really nice, basically almost like a Lexan plate that covered the sins of an older wired buzzer intercom, and then took this trim plate and mounted it right on top of it in the center. It looked fabulous and totally meshed with the whole building. It was really nice looking. And another one did it with a stainless steel piece. We're not going to offer those. Those are going to have to be something that's going to, depending on what you're trying to cover up. There's just too many types of wired buzzer intercoms that are in this space to come up with something that fit everything.
Yep. And there's always other models, right? There's the X, there's the M, right? The Smart Video Intercom M that'll fit into a larger hole, and they have a trim kit that fills a pretty good gap there. So you could always do something custom, like you said, but there are other options beyond the S. This isn't the only product in the line.
Correct. Right now, these are the two trim plates that we came up with. Just the base one to kind of cover the sins of maybe the installation, and then the one with the Postal lock kit integrated.
Right, and then the next one's the monthly fee, and I think you'll get to that.
I get to that. Yep.
Okay, we'll get to that.
I got a slide.
Perfect. And then if internet goes down, does it offer standalone memory? And I'll just answer that yes. Your access control will still work. You'll lose app control, right? Because you're not connected to the internet, and you'll lose your ability to make a phone call because it is a Voip telephone line that we're using, but your access control functionality will still work. Your cards, your pins, all those things.
Yep.
So Wiegand, yes. Answers yes. There's a lot of questions coming in. So I think for gate applications, gooseneck, post, or mount, recommended one. I think you're showing that it'll be available in late August.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and it basically replaces the bracket that came with it. So you just swap out to this gooseneck bracket, and the new gooseneck bracket meets the whole pattern for the gooseneck.
And in the meantime, we have some alternate options to do so. We're excited to see your guys' version and kind of sell the complete package. But in the meantime, at Control Products, we've come up with some alternate solutions.
Yeah, and I will tell you that sun hood can be used with the gooseneck bracket, as well as any of these two trim plates. So, and the sun hood is really, if you didn't think you need it and find out that you do need it, you don't have to remove the whole CAPXS. Basically just remove the two torque screws on the, that are holding the CAPXS to the bracket. It'll stay there. And then slide the hood on, and then use the new torque screws that came with the hood. They're a little bit longer, and screw it back on. So it's completely retrofit if you decide later that, you know what, we probably do need this sun hood, and you can add it at a later time.
Perfect. And that was all the questions. Thank you, Sherry.
Okay. All right. So moving on to some pricing. I'm sorry I don't have 100% of it yet. Well, the CAPXS, the list price is $12.99. We actually started shipping them out this morning. So woohoo, yay. Our first units are shipping today. CAPXS hood, which is that sun hood, that will be available in late July. Right now, it looks like I'm going to be getting them in my inventory around July 27th. So we'll have those available to start shipping right after that. That's going to list out at $42.95. And then the base trim plate for just the smaller one. Again, same time frame. Those are all coming in at the same time. $67.95 list price for that one. With the Postal lock, it's $85.95. Now that does not include the lock. You need to get that lock from the USPS. And then the gooseneck bracket, I actually should have that pricing as well as the two service kits by the end of today, but I just didn't get a chance to finish it yesterday. So I should have that shortly for you, for the team. So now just when you take a look at our overall line, how does this compare to our other products that are out, and where do we really target the market for the specific product? So we've got our CAPXS LV that comes in. That one's got 4 doors of control. That's really targeting gated community. You could put this in a high, capacity, multi-dwelling unit as well. And then CAPXM is our medium, high MDU, mixed use type building. Smart Video Intercom-S, our new one that we just talked about. That's really targeting that small MDU, 2 to 9 units, and use that, if it's got 12 units, it's right there. Or you can do a single family home with the gate. We've gotten a lot of feedback that this is a product that they really want for it. And we do have some beta installs on it, and it's working pretty well. So, and then you also have our CAP2D, which helps you do the resident only access, for additional access points. And then we've got our CAP-AC, our smart access hub for retrofit. So we've got a pretty good line of products now that can do the gamut of types of applications, and you can mix and match these as needed. So the big thing is you see there your list pricing down below. Our local event history is slightly different. Actually, this one's wrong. This should be 1,000. You can mix and match, and I will say you can match if you've got a larger community or an MDU with visitor access, at a door, and you want to maybe do some small capacity visitor access. It's a door that's not used as often, but you still want to have it. You could put an S there as part of one of these larger communities as well. So they do all mix and match. Any questions on this?
No, we're good to move on.
Awesome. And then from a service perspective, we really took a look at what we were for the small MDU space with these single family homes. And we have, if you have a CAPXS only community, like a 2 to 9 unit or a single family home, we now can recognize that within the community portal and price it appropriately. So from a smaller MDU, low capacity, if it's a CAPXS only, the price per access point for the first one is $15, and then you add a $5 Voip fee. So we actually reduced the cost of the Voip and pulled it into the one bill. So it's $20 per month for community access for these smaller buildings or for a single family home with a gate. If you do want to do a backdoor of that community as well, let's say it's equally used, we are tiering it. So for the second CAPXS on that community, that small MDU, now you'll have it's $27 so it's a $3 thing. And this is your price to the community. This is the dealer price if the dealer wants to manage that for the community. And then for the CAPXS, it comes with 2 MyQ app licenses included. So maybe the property owner and handyman, and then each additional license, and you can buy them individually. So if you need 9 licenses, you can buy 9 licenses. You don't have to buy them in packs. So those are $1 per user per month. And then if you do want to do 30-day video storage, that's available. And Voip service as well, or is included now. Any questions on the special pricing for CAPXS only?
I don't see any questions on it, but so for clarity there, these numbers up top, this is your access points, right? And then you add the $5 per unit for the Voip line?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So Voip's always going to be $5 per access point. The service pricing for the community portal is right here.
So we do have someone who's going to pipe in with a question on there, and you can move on. We can get to the question at the end too in relation to pricing. So
okay, all right. So kind of in summary for all of our communities, but specifically our new CAPXS type communities, we're still, those community managers, those property owners still have that ability to add and delete residents at the front door. They can issue guest passes. Their residents can issue guest passes, and then the property manager, the property owner can actually assign access to people and under schedules as well. So they still have that whole thing available in the community portal that allows them to manage their properties. And then they have that visibility. They have to be able to see all those activities, including be able to live stream, and then, access with views, what's going on, download clips, that kind of stuff. So all that same great stuff from the community web platform, just in a smaller building. And then from the community app, the residents have the same access that they have if they lived in a larger community. They now have all those great features in a smaller community. So they can do press to unlock to get into a door. They can get visual confirmation and see who's at the door before allowing them in. They can manage their visitors with one-time or recurring guest passes that can be sent either text or email. They can give PIN codes, virtual passes, and then they get to see the traceable events with video of their guests or with ones that they've created as well. And we now have hands-free, hey Siri, open my door. So if you've got that built into your techware, you can also use Siri to open the door if you're got your hands full. And might be cool for a single family home. You can now integrate the residential app for the garage into the community app as well and unlock both of them. So if you do put this on a single family home, you can now pull the access for the residential garage as well as the gate into the one single community app. It does not work vice versa. You can't pull the community piece of it into the residential app, but if you're using and paying for the community app, you can do that. Make it a little bit simple for you. And so now we've got the full line. Any more questions?
Yeah, there's a couple in the chat box, but I want to call out too, one of the really nice things about the app too and the guest management is the alerts, right? So you're alerted when someone has used that guest management, if I'm correct, right? If my guest comes through or my delivery comes through, I will be notified via the app that
you will. Yes, you can get a notification. And then the other thing is that you can set the schedule for it. Let's say that you want the dog walker to walk Fido between 2 and 4. And you can set his recurring usage to only work between 2 and 4.
Exactly. And if they use it outside of that, you'll be alerted that they tried.
You'll be alerted that they tried. Yeah.
Yep.
And or if for some reason they say, oh, I got here 15 minutes early, they could actually call you and you could just let them in. So, which is nice too.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, the hardware is nice. The whole line, the hardware is nice, but really what drives this product line is the app and the backbone, the portal in my mind. I mean,
it's really the user experience. It's really about making life for all of those residents, as well as all those property owners. It's about making their life simpler and easier and just give them, access to everything that they can do super easy.
So we had a question earlier and it was about impact resistance, which you had mentioned, you gave a rating. I don't know exactly what that means, right? Because I don't live in that world, and they also asked about the bracket not looking too secure and how it's kind of secured. I know it's like screws through the side. You can elaborate on that.
So yeah, so the bracket's got screws. I can go back up to that so we can take a look at that mounting. Hold on. Oops, too far. So there are screws to mount to either a gang box or just to like the surface. And then we also recommend that if you're mounting to, you look on that image, it shows it looks like it's a brick. If it's definitely a rough surface, we highly recommend sealing it. As you can tell from one of the previous pictures, that all that wiring terminals is pretty open to the back. The bracket does provide a gasket about that, but if you're to a mount surface, I recommend some kind of like silicone sealant as well. And then there are Torx screws that are actually holding it to the bracket. So they're not standard like Phillips screwdriver screws. But they're not quite security screws. We went with Torx screws, easier to get, easier to, then we don't have to provide a tool every time because most installers have a Torx set. If that's something that you think we should be taking a look at, we're open to it. So far, we haven't really had a lot of concern from the Torx screw perspective. Any comments on that?
No, nothing there. And then the impact rating, you mentioned that.
The impact rating, it's a 5-pound ball, steel ball dropped at 5 feet on the glass.
Okay, so that's what it's rated for. And the one thing to call out too is this unit does have the built-in shock sensor, correct?
It does, yeah. So if somebody messes with it, they're going to get videoed. So if like somebody starts literally trying to mess with it, I will tell you, I have a unit on my desk and I had it propped up and it slid down and I got the notification that somebody was trying to break in. So.
Exactly. And you can have it set for notification. You're also going to get a video that's stored in the activity log. So they have some, some backup for that. End of the day, it's not going to stop it if they hit it with a baseball bat, but I don't know that product yet. So haven't seen that one. So I've got a question here. I think it's in relation to pricing, but let's say I had a home with a vehicle gate and a pedestrian gate. Can the unit open the gates separately? And it says for a monthly fee, if the homeowner wanted a unit to call 4 apps in succession first. So I think I'll answer this a little bit. One, it's a 1-door unit, right? So if we wanted to have a PED gate, we'd have to actually add like a CAP2D or go to a CAPXS at that point, right? So we have separate door control.
Correct. Yeah.
And then as far as the app calling people, right, it's 1 app per directory. So it's not going to call in succession. I would have to have 4 different directories for all of us to get video calling, correct?
Correct. It literally calls their phone number.
Yeah, so it calls it'll call into 1 app and then it'll roll over to a regular landline, or not landline, but voice only line. But for 4 app calls, we'd have to have 4 different directories.
Correct.
It says apartment complexes with garage parking, will the app allow access to the individual garages? And I'll let you touch on that one there.
So actually, if they've got, let's say they've got an individual garage and they have a MyQ app and they're already controlling their individual garage, they can add it to their community app license because it's theirs, right? If it's a shared garage, they can't.
Got it. Yeah, no, that's where I thought you were going to go with it. Yeah. So if they're individual garages and they're already controlling through the app, then you can integrate it.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. And then someone asked for like a sample price breakdown. They say a 16 home community. They already have their internet there, Wiegand receiver. What's the cost? Now I know there's some variables there, right? I can break that down, or you can break it down.
What are they looking for? I'm sorry.
So they're saying a 16 home community. What would be like a estimate on the price? Because if we have 1 access point, let's just base it off 1 access point.
So if you've got 1 access point, it would be $15 plus the Voip. They get 2 licenses. They have 16. Let's say they want 16 apps. They'd have to buy an additional 14 apps, or they could make everybody buy their own app, whatever. And so it would be $20. They've got 1 access point. It'd be $20 plus taxes for the Voip service and the access control per month for the whole community for that entry.
Yeah. So if they want the 16 apps, you're at about $34 plus a little bit of tax for the Voip service, right?
Yeah. Because they would want, it depends on how many people in that 16 home community are going to have the app.
Got it. Let's see.
And the app is per person, not per house.
Correct. Exactly. So it's a license per device that it's on.
Correct.
All right. Let's see here. Someone says, what is the VoIP service you're talking about? It's confusing. The VoIP service is the phone service to the unit. So it's just a separate line item through there, right? It's how we're going to make phone calls.
We use phone.com. And in the past, you would get a MyQ community bill and a phone.com bill for your whole community. We've rolled it into our billing now, and for CAPXS, we've negotiated a $5 per access price.
And then another question here: does the guest invite sign PIN codes or like a QR?
It's a PIN code, or it will send you a link that actually opens up just a page that you can just click to open. All right, let me show you. Hold on. Let me show you. So it could either, so if you look on here, it'll either do like an entry code here, or you'll get this type of, you'll get either this kind of thing where you have to, here's your entry code that'll work. And then, or you could say tap to enter. So you could actually get whatever they sent you the guest pass for, you'd get these little images. It's either just once you get there, you have to just tap it and it'll open the door.
Got it.
Tap to unlock.
Exactly. So it gives them
and then here's that notification that you would get on your phone. Oh, delivery has been used to unlock the door. So this is what whoever you sent it to is getting, and here's what it looks like here when on your phone.
We have a question. Does phone.com work out in the Caribbean, like Puerto Rico, places like that?
I believe that's the only place it does work in Latin America is Puerto Rico.
Okay, and then so coming back to same guy with the question on the phone.com. So he's saying so that's $5 per user. I'm just going to answer this one. No, it's
$5 per access point.
Yeah, for the phone line that goes to it, but the apps are $1 per user.
Correct.
Yep, and we can go offline. You could email me and I could give a price breakdown, but essentially it's $15 for that first access point. That does include 2 app license, and then $5 for the phone line. After that, if you need more than 2 app license, it's $1 per user per month.
Correct.
Here. Is the system using the current MyQ business platform? And the answer is yes, right?
Yes.
It's all on the same backbone.
Yeah, they kind of did a name change on it from MyQ Business to MyQ Community about mid last year.
Yeah, exactly. And I still bounce back and forth, right?
So do I. I'm actually wearing I'm wearing a MyQ Business shirt today. So.
Yeah, there you go.
I just happen to really like it, so I'm not gonna get rid of it just because they changed the name.
Yeah, so they said so. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. On my end, the platform's been actually solid for me, and I'm involved in a lot of projects, a lot of different cloud-based products, and I actually think the MyQ business platform is one of the stronger ones.
Yeah, and if you haven't played with it lately, definitely check it out, because our team has made quite a few enhancements on the portal. It's a lot more user-friendly. Now setting up an account you can do it. It's a DIY type thing. You can do it yourself. You don't need to call into our customer care to set up an account anymore. It's all right there available for you. It prices everything out for you. You can add and delete. I kind of liken it to setting up internet and television at home. You just select all the stuff that you want and it tells you what the bill is on the side. So they've done a really nice job at updating the screens to make it much more user friendly. And even the screens looking at the activities are a lot easier to use.
Yeah, perfect. And then question here, if additional app control is wanted after the installation, how does the user tenant pay? Are they sent an invite? How's that process look?
You mean if the resident wants it?
Correct.
So
I can answer it if you want. That's either way.
Go ahead.
All right. Yeah. So the resident can't gain access to the app without being invited by the community manager. So there's a process. They're going to actually pay. It's part of the monthly fee that's paid. Individuals don't pay by themselves. They don't go to the app store and download the $1 per month app. It's actually billed through the community. And then from there, once they have the app license, you essentially get an inventory of app licenses, and you issue those as the manager. And they do receive an email, and then they go through a setup process from the email. It's pretty straightforward. It's a step-by-step process for the end user.
Yeah, and I have heard people just, they pay for it through the community portal service. It's all, billed as one, but they might actually increase the HOAs or whatever or something to cover what their costs are. I've heard both. Sometimes they just assume it. Sometimes they make the customers pay, or that make their residents pay in a certain way, either HOA fee or something like that.
And we got a question: is the pricing standalone, or does it require a business server access account as well? And the answer to that is it's standalone. This is a standalone service. All right, so I think that gets us through all the questions there. At this point, I mean, if anyone wants to open up their mic and ask questions, you can do that too.
Hey Daniel, it's this is Zach Eichenberger, Director of Products for Control Product Systems Group. You know me, I can't keep my mouth shut, so I had to jump on and make a few comments. But access control is going through quite the renaissance, and it has been for some time. But obviously, the connected nature of these products brings a ton of benefits and features. Apps and cloud programming from anywhere. If you've been in the industry a while, we're not setting up dial-up modems anymore and dealing with client-based software. So tons of really cool benefits. But one aspect that we've noticed is changing significantly also is just how guests use that phone that's sitting out in front of the door or the gate. Historically, you'd get surprise visitors. They roll up and they'd call you and you'd let them in. That's all good and dandy, and that still can happen today. But usually we know someone's coming, right? And they'll shoot us a text. Even if we're in a meeting, it's like, yeah, okay, you'll be at the gate in 5 minutes. Here's a guest pass. So what we're hearing and what we're seeing is that people are not going up to the directory and scrolling and finding names and calling as frequently as they used to. So that I just want to kind of point that out, that guest management is really the key to the future. What else are we seeing in the marketplace? We're seeing home delivery be an activity that's daily with consumers. That's why I think Sherry, posted up that, millennials want a connected product. They want to get their Amazon delivery. They want to get their pizza delivery. They want to be able to send their friends a pass and not call the property manager and set up a party, for instance. All that's getting controlled through the app. So a lot of changes happening. And I think that just over time, you're going to see not such big screens out at the gate and at the door, because they're not going to use those screens so much in the future.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with you, Zach. Just to piggyback on that, I constantly preach that, 20 years from now, there'll be very little interaction with the actual call box, right?
Yeah. One other aspect I just got to point out, and obviously we're on a public forum here, so we're not going to give out exact pricing. If you're a dealer in this industry, an installing integrator in this industry, the price of this hardware is extremely low. I mean, the cost to get into this product is pretty incredible. So in the post-webinar notes, we'll send you some additional information, recording of this video, and please reach out to us for a quote on the product. You'll be surprised at the low cost of the hardware.
Yep. And I bring up my screen here, just to talk a little bit about our access services that we offer. So if it's, something that you're trying to jump into, but not fully comfortable yet with this platform, or really cloud-based platforms, we do offer services when it comes to the LiftMaster, the MyQ community products and that platform, all the way from we'll get you set up, we'll train you guys, we'll train your end user, to we'll show up on site. Right. So I just wanted to kind of briefly just bring this up. I'm not going to jump a bunch into this. And if you've been on our other webinars, we show this there too. But we want to show that, we're there to support, we're there to get you through it. And we're there to help out with the end user, all the way to, like I said, showing up and commissioning the product. Right. Looks like we might have some more things in the chat there, Zach. I'm going to let you open those up if you could.
You want me to read them out? Sure.
Yep. Go for it.
Yeah, and Paul makes comment, and I do agree that this happens as well. So is the CAPXM similar to the CAPXS, just bigger? Is the CAPXM similar weather rating, and his customers prefer a larger screen? And we do see that as well, right? Some residential customers really want a commercial unit out there, and that's perfectly fine. I guess I'll let Sherry answer.
I think so. The CAPXM is actually more similar to the CAPXLV. That's where I like, but we did do a lot of, there's the guts of all three of them are pretty similar. But from an industrial design, industrial feel, the CAPXM and the CAPXLV, I think, are closer to each other. And then the CAPXM and the XLV, I believe, are IP65 rating.
Got it. Yeah, and one other thing in a drive-up application, especially if you're going to use credential remotes, those two larger units also offer the built-in radio receiver.
I was also going to say that. Yeah, so that's another key difference, is that they're really designed more for the vehicular access as well as pedestrian. So they have the built-in radio that works with it's like a passport radio that's built in, that works with transmitters, and you can integrate either on the front or in the inside of the CAPXM an actual card reader if you want a card reader access. So they've got a little bit of different applications for them. They might get mounted out full, on higher capacity. That's why they have a little bit heavier duty weather rating.
Got it. Yep. And we've seen different potential applications for all the products, but so far on the XS, just talking on the pre-orders that we've taken, we're seeing about a 50-50 split between small MDU and residential for this product.
Yeah, and residential was always a secondary market we were looking at. It was and I'll just say, this was in my opinion, I felt for single family home residential, we needed to get our community portal more simplified in order for it to be in play for a family, which I believe they actually have done. They've done like I said, they've done a really nice job at the portal to make it more user friendly, that even a single family home, it's easy to manage just for the family members. So that was it wasn't the product itself, it was more the portal piece of it.
And John asked the question, can the installing dealer get a residual with the monthly fees?
So that's where the separate pricing comes into play. If you looked at that pricing that I had from the service perspective, there were two prices: the list price that like an end user would pay, and the dealer price. So if a dealer wants to manage the whole thing for a small community, they can pay their price and then charge either the list price or maybe just make it part of a monthly service fee. And build it into that as well, which is people do all the time.
Very good. And Mark, looking for some clarification on the calling feature. Can the unit call more than one person's cell phone app at the same time?
No, it calls. Basically, if you walk up to the access system, and that's all of them work this way, and you go through the directory, it's going to call that person.
Exactly. Mark also asked, what's the additional directory? I'm not sure what that was referring to, Mark. Maybe if you give some clarification, we can dive into that. And then again, Mark, we'll offer up some price lists for the monthly cost, because obviously there's some nuance there depending on how many users you have and how many devices. So we'll provide that in the follow-up notes. Paul mentioned, I think the number of caller question may be related to rollover. So how does the rollover work?
The call forwarding?
I think there's won't it roll over to one additional number?
It will. It'll call an app. It will call an app and give a video call. And if you do not answer there, it can then call a voice only line, like our classic telephone entry. You can pick up, and 9 is default, but you can change the tone open number. But that is how their rollover works. If someone elects not to have the app, you still have rollover, but it's voice line to another voice line. So they're not reaching multiple people at once. It's calling one number, then calling another.
And we got a few more minutes here. We can tackle a few more of these calls. So yeah, Mark, thanks for clarification. Can you have more than one name on the directory of the CAPXS?
So everybody that you can call would be in the directory. So if I have a 6-unit building and there are 2 people per building and each person has an app, all 12 people will show up on the directory.
Yeah, I think you called out a memory on that one slide of like 500.
Oh, yeah, it can hold up to 500 users.
Yep, on the directory.
Yep. Yes, it does. I see from AJ, it does have delayed handicap. It's got a Rex input as well for request to exit. Is that what you were asking?
But has a Rex input, but I'm not sure, AJ, you can clarify, are you looking for delayed egress? In that scenario, I don't think we have delayed egress built in yet. We can build that out. It definitely has a Rex input.
And you can also delay the auxiliary relay too, right? Behind
Yes.
the main relay.
Yep. So if you have a vestibule and you order pizza, when you let them in or they get their thing, it'll let them in the main door. And then based on the how you set it up in the community portal for that particular access point, it will then also trigger a relay in the interior door as part of the auxiliary relay.
Yeah, so AJ, if it's delayed egress, like you'd find in maybe a convalescent home or a hospital in some cases where they're worried about patients just wandering off, we'd want to have that conversation because there's a couple other dynamics we'd want to take into consideration for that. Good questions.
Yeah, no, great questions. A lot of great interaction, actually. I mean, it's what you want to have when you hold one of these events. You want to see the interest and you want to see the right questions being asked, right, Zach? You've been through enough of them.
Yeah, no doubt. We'll do more of these as well. So we're kind of getting to the end of the time. As I mentioned earlier, we'll send out some additional details. Certainly reach out to the local branch for a quote. They may be reaching out to you. There's my alarm. Any other closing comments, Daniel or Sherry?
No, just thanks again for your time. I really do appreciate it. And I hope you guys get a chance to see it soon and experience CAPXS.
Yep. No, we appreciate you joining here today and taking time out of your busy days for a product. Like I said at the beginning, we're really excited about seeing launch. And feel free to reach out to your local branch. Inventory is starting to land here this week, and get a quote. I think you'll be amazed at what they can offer and what they can deliver for the price point through this product.
Demos are at the branch, right?
Demo units at the branch. You got that right, Kevin. So every one of our locations has a demo unit. So if you want to go in, see it, play with it, have them show you the app, how it all works, feel free to pop into your local CPSG.
And it's also on our website where you can view all the literature, manuals, specifications as well.
Great.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, Sherry.
Thanks all.
All right.
Thank you.
Good
Bye.
job.